Thank you. Now, this is a first for me. We're actually going to have live Mr. Friedrich Wacker. He's head of the Directorate International Cooperation, Global Food Policy in the Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture. He's previously served in the Federal Chancellery as head of division, Food and Ag and Consumer Protection, and at the German Embassy in both Washington, D.C. and in Canada. So pleased to have you join us from across the pond, as the Americans say. Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Dear Mr. Shenggen fan, dear Constance, dear Astrid, dear Rajul, dear all. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present and reflect the results of last week's GFFA, the Berlin World Food Conference, and my special thanks go to Mr. Shenggen fan, who did not only actively participate in the GFFA, but contributed very much to its success. Thank you all to those who organized today's meeting and connecting us and making this possible. For those who are not familiar with the GFFA, I'd like to provide you with some background. The Global Forum for Food and Agriculture celebrated its 10th anniversary this year, and the conference was initiated and is being hosted and organized by my ministry. The conference has become the, I dare to say, leading conference on key issues of global food security and the future of agriculture. A total of 69 ministers from countries of almost all continents, including ministers from China, Russia, India, Australia, New Zealand, Brazil, but unfortunately not the US, as well as 2 EU commissioners and of 6 international organizations such as FAO and OIE came together to discuss the future of livestock. The various panels that are part of the GFFA were attended by 2,500 people, and 30,000 peaceful protesters that gathered in the fringes of the conference handed over a political declaration. They called for a fundamental change in agriculture policy. Global food systems, in particular livestock systems, need to be transformed and become more sustainable. In adopting the communiqué, ministers and representatives committed themselves to responsible and sustainable animal husbandry. And they underlined the relevance of livestock for achieving the sustainable development goals of the Agenda 2030 and to implement the right to food. They identified 4 central challenges that are being interrelated and must be reconciled with one another: food security, improving livelihoods, protection of resources and climate, and improvement of animal health and welfare. But why did we choose this highly controversial and politically sensitive topic? I don't tell you a secret when I have to admit that it wasn't too easy to convince my political leaders to agree to it. Firstly, global demand of food of animal origin is projected to further increase significantly, in particular in many emerging countries. And the ministers therefore decided to take strong efforts to supply this demand sustainably and responsibly. They agreed on a list of appropriate measures to reach this goal, for example, by expanding research, knowledge creation and transfer, and by reducing losses and wastage within the livestock production system. Secondly, livestock, and Shenggen fan already underlined that, plays a major role in securing livelihoods, constitutes an important economic factor, creates incomes and employment, and has various socio-cultural functions. The ministers committed, among other things, to foster public and private investment, in the livestock sector, strengthen value and distribution chains, and enhance access to markets. They reaffirmed their support for a rule-based trading system. Thirdly, livestock uses large quantities of natural resources, could have environmentally harmful impacts, and accounts for 14.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions. The ministers therefore committed, inter alia, to promote innovations, agroecological farming practices, and organic farming. The conservation and sustainable use of breeds and genetic resources are important elements in that approach, and the ministers aim to promote pasture restoration and soil carbon sequestration. Fourthly, with the intensification of animal production and the increase in trade of products, animal health and animal welfare have become even more relevant. The ministers emphasized the interrelationships between human and animal health, and they are resolved to strengthen their efforts to combat the unnecessary use of antibiotics as growth promoters. They are committed to improve animal husbandry practices, biosecurity and biosafety, and to improve access to veterinary services. They expressed their support for ORE's global animal welfare strategy and its implementation. And with that, I hope we made a major contribution to make animal welfare become a priority in the global livestock systems. Fifthly, food of animal origin is an important source of protein and essential micronutrients, and that was being emphasized, underlined by Shenggen as well. The ministers therefore underlined the importance of a balanced consumption of food of animal origin for health protection and the efficient use of resources. Although the ministers adopted the communiqué unanimously, the road to get there was a rocky one. We received almost 400 written amendments to the draft that was circulated in advance, and on the first day of the GFFA, we invited senior officials to a meeting for the finalization of the text. The debate was quite controversial but constructive. We had a lengthy debate on trade and the relevance of a moderate, balanced consumption of food of animal origin. Some disputed the impact of livestock on natural resources and the climate, and some delegations tried to soften or even remove the passage about the use of antibiotics. But finally, we found a compromise that is being available now on the website. Let me conclude. The GFFA has made livestock a major topic on the international agenda. That was long overdue. In the past, livestock was not given proper attention by the policymakers, neither on the national nor on the international level. We could hopefully change that. The diversity in livestock systems, the variety of natural, social, economic factors that are forming the sector and pushing its development requires a comprehensive policy approach. And we therefore expect that the relevant international organizations will, based on the outcome of the GFFA, promote the international consultation on sustainable, responsible, and efficient livestock production systems. We invited them to advance the policy dialogue, to make knowledge broadly available, to identify gaps, and to initiate respective research. And we asked them to report the results of these efforts at the next GFFA. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director General.